The old town was holding its breath. It was as if the very air was afraid to move, to disturb the eerie stillness that had settled over the place. The streets, once bustling with life, now lay silent and empty, shrouded in a thick, impenetrable fog. Fear, thick and silent, hung in the foggy air. It seeped into every corner, every crevice, wrapping the town in a suffocating embrace. The fog was not just a natural phenomenon, it was a living, breathing entity, feeding off the terror of the townsfolk. Whispers blew in the wind, stories of Longlegs, the monster that lived in the woods. The tales were as old as the town itself, passed down through generations. They spoke of a creature with limbs as long as tree branches, eyes that glowed in the dark, and a hunger for lost souls. They said it tricked lost people, trapped them in the shadows. The monster was cunning, using the darkness to its advantage, luring unsuspecting victims deeper into the forest. Once you were in its grasp, there was no escape. The shadows would close in, and you would be lost forever. No one ever came back. The stories were filled with names of those who had vanished, their fates sealed by the darkness. The townsfolk spoke of them in hushed tones, their voices tinged with fear and sorrow. Each name was a reminder of the danger that lurked just beyond the town's borders. I laughed at the stories, thought they were just silly myths. I was an outsider, new to the town, and I didn't believe in such superstitions. The idea of a monster hiding in the woods seemed absurd, a tale to scare children and keep them from wandering too far. Until I was driving, lost on a night with no moon, the road leading deeper into the darkness. The fog was so thick that my headlights barely pierced it, and the trees seemed to close in around me. I felt a chill run down my spine as the stories of Longlegs came rushing back. Suddenly the myths didn't seem so silly anymore. The darkness was alive, and I was its next victim. The engine coughed, choked, and died. Silence, heavy and complete, pressed down on me. The woods loomed dark and scary. A twig snapped. My heart pounded in my chest. I was alone, stuck in the belly of the beast. Fear, cold and sharp, cut right through me. Something was watching from the trees. Then I saw it. A figure, barely visible at first, lurking in the shadows of the dense forest. My heart pounded as I strained my eyes to make out its form, a shape, tall and skinny, outlined against the fading light. It seemed almost otherworldly, as if it didn't belong to this realm. The sun's last rays cast an eerie glow around it, making it appear even more menacing. Its arms and legs, impossibly long, moved with a grace that wasn't natural. I gasped, unable to comprehend how something so terrifying could move so fluidly. Each step it took seemed deliberate, almost as if it was dancing to a silent, sinister tune. Longlegs. The stories were true. The tales whispered around campfires, the warnings from the elders. They all came rushing back to me. This was the creature that haunted our nightmares. It came closer, each step silent and purposeful. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the usual sounds of the night eerily absent. I could feel the weight of its presence pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. Terror, pure and overwhelming, washed over me. My mind raced, searching for a way to escape, but my body refused to move. I was paralyzed by fear. Every instinct screaming at me to run, yet I remained rooted to the spot. I was frozen, caught in its stare. Its eyes, dark and hollow, seemed to pierce through my very soul. In that moment I knew there was no escaping this encounter. I was face to face with evil, and it had found me. Panic took hold of me. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum, each beat echoing in my ears. The darkness around me seemed to close in, suffocating and relentless. I could hear my own ragged breaths, each one a desperate gasp for air. The forest was alive with the sounds of night, but all I could focus on was the terror that gripped me. I scrambled back into the car, locked the doors. It was no use. The sense of safety the car provided was an illusion. I could feel the creature's presence, its malevolent energy seeping through the metal and glass. My hands trembled as I fumbled with the keys, trying to start the engine, but it wouldn't turn over. The car was dead, and so was my hope. The creature pressed against the windows, its long fingers tapping, tapping, tapping. Each tap was a reminder of my impending doom. I could see its distorted reflection in the glass, a grotesque silhouette that seemed to mock my fear. The tapping grew louder, more insistent, as if it was trying to break through not just the glass but my sanity. Its face, hidden in shadows, stared at me. Those eyes, or what I assumed were eyes, bore into my soul. They were voids, empty and cold, yet filled with a malevolent intelligence. It was as if the creature could see every fear, every doubt, every weakness I had ever harbored. I felt exposed, vulnerable, like a mouse under the gaze of a hawk. The eyes, cold and empty, looked right through me. They were not just looking at me. They were dissecting me, peeling away layers of my psyche. I could feel my resolve crumbling, my willpower disintegrating under that unyielding gaze. It was as if the creature was feeding off my fear, growing stronger with each passing second. I was caught in its web, a fly fighting against a spider. Every move I made seemed to entangle me further, drawing me deeper into its trap. The car, once a symbol of freedom and escape, had become my prison. I could feel the walls closing in, the air growing thin. My mind raced, searching for a way out, but there was none. I was trapped, and the nightmare was just beginning. Hours went by so slowly, the tapping never stopped. Dawn broke, showing me a horrifying truth. The car was empty. I felt my blood turn cold. I was in the driver's seat. Longlegs hadn't taken me. It had become me.